Hi, Dr. Woodland here. Have you ever wondered about the ways in which stress impacts physical health? Well, let me count the ways and let's become more aware together. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something we all know but don't always understand, and that's stress. We've all felt it, right? Whether it's work, relationships, or just trying to figure out, where you left your keys. Stress is everywhere. But did you know that it's not just a mental thing? Stress can wreak havoc on your body in ways you probably didn't realize. It impacts everything, from your skin to your heart, your gut, your immune system, and even your sex life. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let's break down 13 ways your stress impacts your health and why it's more than just feeling anxious. Now, you've probably heard the phrase fight or flight, right? When we're stressed, our bodies get ready to fight a lion or, finish a big project by releasing chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol. But here's the kicker. In modern life, there's not always an actual lion to run from. So we're left with all that stress response with no place for it to go. And that's when the problems start. Let's start with your immune system. You might think, I'm stressed, so I'm just tired and maybe a little cranky. Well, stress doesn't just make you grumpy, it weakens your immune system. It's like sending your body's defense system to the beach for a vacation right when it's supposed to be on high alert. When cortisol is constantly spiking, it suppresses things like your white blood cells, which are responsible for fighting off infections. So guess what? You're more likely to catch that cold you were trying to avoid or get stuck with a lingering infection. Long-term stress actually makes you more vulnerable to diseases like the flu, colds, and even autoimmune diseases because your immune system is too busy dealing with cortisol to properly fight off those invaders. Now, if you're like me and a lot of the folks that I meet with on a regular basis, you've probably had a night or two where stress made you lie awake thinking about everything you have to do tomorrow. But did you know that stress can actually mess with your sleep cycle? Stress causes the body, again, to release cortisol and other stress hormones at the wrong times. So what happens? It makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. The result? You wake up feeling like a zombie, which just makes stress even worse. It's a vicious cycle. Chronic stress can lead to insomnia, and guess what? Sleep deprivation then also makes you more stressed. I've talked about insomnia and sleep deprivation and how those differ in other videos, so check those out. But the idea is that insomnia can lead to this sleep deprivation, makes you more stressed, and so that's another area where stress piles on more stress. But don't worry, there are ways to break the cycle with good sleep hygiene and with CBTI. Now, here's a fun one. Stress can mess with your breathing. When you're stressed, your body often goes into shallow, rapid breathing, which limits the amount of oxygen that gets into your lungs. If you ever felt short of breath before a big presentation or during a stressful situation, you felt this firsthand. Over time, chronic stress can actually contribute to things like asthma, bronchitis, and other respiratory problems because the body's response to stress constricts airways. So, deep breath, folks, literally. Let's talk about your skin. You've probably heard the term stress breakouts. Well, that's not just something your teen years made up. Stress can lead to increased production of oil in the skin, which then can clog pores and cause acne. And that's not all. Cortisol also breaks down collagen, the protein that keeps your skin plump and wrinkle-free. So too much stress can lead to premature aging. Long-term stress? Yeah, that can accelerate aging by decreasing skin elasticity. So when you see those crow's feet starting to show up, stress might be partly to blame. Okay, moving on to your heart. Stress can increase your heart rate and raise your blood pressure. That's the body's way of saying, we're ready to run away from this lion. But over time, this constant increase in heart rate and blood pressure can contribute to heart disease, also hypertension, and even heart attacks. So if your heart's racing every time you think about that deadline or that argument, it's a sign to slow down, see if you can take a deep breath. All right, here's a fun fact. Your gut is often called your second brain. And just like your brain, it reacts to stress. When you're stressed, blood flow is diverted away from the digestive system, and your body focuses on survival rather than on digestion. This can lead to stomach problems like ulcers, acid reflux, and irritable bowel syndrome. Ever notice that stress gives you a butterfly feeling in your stomach? That's because the gut and the brain are highly connected. Stress can even throw off your gut microbiome, making it harder for you to digest food properly, leading to bloating, discomfort, and long-term digestive issues. Next up, stress and your blood sugar. When you're stressed, your body releases glucose into the bloodstream as a quick energy source. Again, great if you're running away from a lion. Not so great if you're sitting at your desk worrying about a deadline. Over time, constant stress can lead to insulin resistance, which is a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Basically, your body's been on constant fight or flight, and that makes it harder for your cells to respond to insulin. This can lead to weight gain and increased risk for diabetes. Now, let's talk about pain. If you've got chronic pain, whether it's back pain, headaches, fibromyalgia, complex regional pain syndrome, or something else, stress can make it way worse. Why? Because stress activates the nervous system and increases inflammation in the body. That means more pain. The more pain you feel, the more stress you get, which just makes the cycle worse. So managing stress is key if you're dealing with chronic pain. It won't cure it, but it might make it a little bit more bearable. Remember when I mentioned cortisol breaking down collagen? Well, that's just the start. Stress speeds up aging in a number of ways. By shortening telomeres, which are the protective caps on our chromosomes. Short telomeres are associated with a faster aging process and higher risk of disease. Stress accelerates aging in a way that's not just skin deep. Stress increases the risk for things like heart disease, cognitive decline, and even cancer. Addiction is another major stress-related issue. People often turn to substances like alcohol, drugs, food, sex, pornography in order to cope with stress. But as you might imagine, this creates a dangerous cycle where the addiction itself can become the new source of stress. Not only does stress increase cravings, but it also messes with your brain's reward system, making it harder to break the cycle. It's a tough one, but acknowledging stress as a trigger is the first step to recovery. All right, let's talk about something maybe a bit more fun, your sex life. Stress can cause a decrease in libido for both men and women. Why? Because high cortisol levels lower testosterone, which is responsible for sexual drive. Stress can also lead to erectile dysfunction in men and difficulty achieving orgasm or arousal in women. Essentially, when you're constantly in fight or flight mode, your body isn't focusing on anything like intimacy or pleasure, it's just focusing on survival. This means that chronic stress can seriously affect your sexual function over time. So if you've noticed a dip in your libido or performance, stress might actually be a major culprit. Luckily, this is one area actually where you can make a big difference by managing stress relaxation techniques like yoga, meditation, or simple breathing exercises. Because when you're less stressed, your body is more likely to be in the mood for romance. Stress doesn't just affect your heart, it affects your brain too. When we're stressed, we have an increase in the fight or flight hormones like adrenaline, which can cause inflammation and narrowing of the blood vessels. This can make you more susceptible to strokes or even transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, which are those mini strokes that can have serious long-term effects. Chronic stress can increase blood pressure, raise the risk of blood clotting, and put an extra strain on your heart and your arteries, all of which contribute to the increased risk of stroke. So, managing stress isn't just good for your mental health, it's essential for your brain health. And finally, stress can mess with your bladder. Stress and anxiety are often linked to urinary issues like frequent urination, bladder irritation, or even incontinence. This happens because your sympathetic nervous system, the one that governs that fight or flight response, causes the muscles in your bladder to contract, making you feel like you need to go more often. Chronic stress can also exacerbate conditions like interstitial cystitis, also known as painful bladder syndrome. And let's not forget that stress can lead to dehydration. When you're stressed, you might forget to drink water, which can also cause urinary discomfort. So, there you have it. From your immune system to your libido, your gut, and your bladder, stress impacts nearly every part of your body. The scary part is that stress over time can lead to serious health issues. But there's good news as well. Stress is manageable. It's all about balance, and small changes can have a big impact. Simple things like exercise, mindfulness, good sleep, and finding ways to relax can lower those cortisol levels and restore your body's natural balance. The more you understand how stress works, the better equipped you are to handle it, right? So whether it's yoga, meditation, or just taking a walk, or just maybe learning to laugh more, find what works for you. And remember, stress is a part of life. It's not about eliminating it entirely, but learning to manage it so it doesn't take over. So the next time you're feeling stressed, take a deep breath and know that your body is way more capable of handling it than you might think. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into stress and health, don't forget to hit that like button, that subscribe, and share this video with anyone who could use a little less stress in their life or better understand this mind-body connection. And drop a comment below. How do you manage stress? Let's start a conversation. See you next time.